Many believe a rate hike by the ECB is imminent, but François Nordhof from BCP doesn't share that view.
You have seen the euro is quite strong in the current environment, which is quite surprising because actually the economic fundamentals are not speaking at all in favor of Europe. They are more speaking in favor of the US, and even some short-end interest rates differential are currently speaking in favor, still in favor of the euro. But in the long run, really, the economic rebound is to be stronger and surprising investors on the upside on the US side and not in Europe. So for us it's a little bit surprising today to see a rising euro against dollar.
So you still think there's many risks out there in terms of the Eurozone recovery, because everyone's talking about Portugal, but is that not already discounted in the market already? Doesn't everyone expect Portugal to default sooner or later?
Well, you are speaking of default. We do not hope for default. We prefer to mention the word bailout. Is it expected? I'm not sure. I mean, there are further things, like for instance this summer, Europeans are going to make another banking stress test. This is again affecting the market, and I'm not pretty sure investors are clearly understood what is going to happen and what is going to be the difference between the stress test of last year and the stress test of this year. So we are going to see some volatility for sure, and I would say as Mr. Trichet made quite a lot of noise regarding a future interest rates increase, it was probably more due to the fact that he's in an election period, or his successor is in an election period, and he wants to impose his view to his successor. But you know, in the meantime, we had also the Japanese events, which is impacting to a certain extent also Europe, which is not changing completely the rules, but it is going to have an impact.
The big worry, especially in German terms, is inflation. Do you not think that that's going to be a threat to the Eurozone recovery?
Yeah, I mean, you are right. There is some inflation in the system, but the inflation within the economy is mostly not yet generated by the economy itself. Those are external factors, and we should keep in mind the energy shock or the supply shock that we have within the energy sector is not going to generate inflation. It's going to generate recession. It's not the same. Even if we can say the first sign of an interest rate hike is going to be the Bank of England, I mean, even here we have to be very careful and not to be too hawkish. They are probably to be the first European institution to show the way, but we are expecting it in the second half of the current fiscal year.
So what approximate timeline are you talking about? You mentioned the Bank of England first. There's going to be the Bank of England, the Fed, and then the ECB. What are we talking about?
ECB is going to lag anyway. It's going to lag, and I am pretty sure the successor of Mr. Trichet, he wants to preserve a healthy economic growth within the European Union. And for the time being, he's probably thinking of, we have two parts within the Eurozone. We have a German part, and to a certain extent linked to France and UK, and we have the PIGS. And indeed, it's very difficult to uniformize those two areas, and that's his objective, that's his first objective. And he cannot do it by being immediately restrictive and hawkish within his monetary stance. He will have to be very politically correct.
Well, that's all for the moment. The photos of tonight will be available on the Geneva Forex Event website. In the meantime, there's plenty more to come here on Dukascopy TV. Goodbye for now.